close in. Oh, it was laboured, but it's got the job done.
Oh, it's a slow though.
Oh no, Jingle overcooked.
Oh!
The Esports World Cup for Valorant, which is hosted in Riyadh, is only 1 week away, which means we're moments closer to an exciting tournament full of aces.
Not thrifty before. There's a head. Jordan looking for a lucky connection in all. Raka, he's forward again. And this guy is it top of the ball. Raka!
Clutches.
Around the corner, finds the first. The Hawk going to be sent. Re-swings, clears out Leaf. Prowler at the ready. Trent in front, and Batman is him!
And the first team to lift the EWC trophy. Now, politics aside from this tournament, this is a stacked lineup. There are 4 teams from each region coming to Riyadh to battle it out for $500,000, which is more than a Masters win. So this won't be some Mickey Mouse tournament. Teams are going to be trying because there's a lot of money on the line here. If you don't know me, my name is Plops. I enjoy making Valorant content, and in this video, we're going to look at the best players from every team going to the Esports World Cup. I chose players based on how good they were in the past, how much their teams rely on them to win, their current form, and how they'll be doing in the upcoming meta, as well as my personal bias. My picks are who I think are going to be the best players from each team at EWC, and I'll also be putting up my runner-ups in the top right corner. Starting in APAC, and after an emotional run by PaperX, it looks like APAC is the strongest region in Valorant right now, and are looking to continue their success. PaperX, Gen.G, RRQ, and DRX are going to be joining us at Riyadh this tournament. Starting with the elephant in the room, PaperX, who just came off their win at Toronto, are going to be looking to continue to ride the train all the way to another victory. Everything is clicking right now for PaperX, and their team fights look consistently strong, always finding trades. Individually, they're all playing super well and performing at a really high level. They aren't overheating like they used to do and have a lot more structure to the game, which adds a lot more depth, giving them a lot more options later in the rounds. However, I think Patman isn't joining them because of visa issues, but I might be wrong. But Mindfreak will be coming into sub, and they've been performing still incredibly well, and I think the team is just doing really well, even if Patman won't be joining us. I also think that they'll be fine because the meta seems to be shifting towards a double controller, double duelist at the moment, and that still suits this team really well. Now, if I have to choose a player, I have to go with Forsaken again. He just adds so much impact to the team and is also their hype man. He plays every role like it's his main role and is super consistent, making unwinnable rounds super possible for PaperX.
But stops to the side, Batman double dash again. We are going.
A lot of aggressive space taken off of this one. The wall raised, he's just gonna go pushing forward, finds one, finds two! Yeah, blind dart through.
30 seconds
I think it
left.
does get clipped by that one, but then TP's forward, up into the smoke, doesn't check down, gets a reveal on the Valorant though. We'll be able to hound him down, my god, Forsaken. Gets himself up there.
Next is Gen.G. Gen.G had an interesting showing at Toronto. They started super strong in the group stage, like they were informed to win it all, when they defeated MIBR and PaperX, and even continued their success when they defeated Fnatic in the playoffs, but fell short after losing an upsetting game to Wolves, losing an 11-6 lead and losing a 9-5 lead. This was followed up by losing an even more upsetting Map 3 match to G2 where they were up 11-4. Hopefully they can figure out whatever is happening and close out their matches because Gen.G looks super strong at Toronto. But leading his team in kills as well as having the highest KD in the entire tournament, Texture is looking to continue his dominance back in Riyadh.
Dizzy at the ready. They're gonna look to try to get a pinch here, but it's gonna be the one spot out, I believe, over towards Foxy 9 as Texture.
Looking for those advantages.
Paranoia does not connect, and Texture does it again! At the consequence of their teammates' positions, Mr. 4K's back. Up and over the top, and Carrot takes it away! Unbelievable!
Next from APAC is RRQ. They had a very disappointing showing at Toronto after winning the stage 1 playoffs. They lost 0-2 to Wolves and 1-2 to Fnatic. And honestly, I think it's because the team didn't have a really good read on the meta. They didn't come up with anything new and creative, so teams were really familiar with how to deal with their comps. I hope that they got their first tournament nerves out of the way and are able to have a stronger showing at Riyadh. I still think this team is really strong and there shouldn't be any pressure on them, so they should be able to play loose and play their style of Valorant. I still think Jemkin is the best player on this team, and I hope that they play more Yoru because this guy's nuts on him.
Juicy has to get off that line basically instantly. Away with Sharon shot, and Jemkin says, right, well, it's time for me to go to work. I have the sickle. So they wait. Jemkin starts to close in, and they know
Lastly from APAC is DRX. Last time we saw DRX on the international stage was at Bangkok, where they looked really good after winning kickoff, but in stage 1 they fell to RRQ and PaperX, losing out on their spot in Toronto. I thought this team was incredibly strong, but that was also due to the Teo meta, where Freeing proved that he was one of the best Teo players. And with the meta changing, it's unknown of how well DRX are going to do playing against around the other teams from around the world. Hopefully DRX prove that they're strong and prove that they have a really good chemistry, because just before stage 1 playoffs they'd brought in Estrella, and Bane was having health issues, which kind of could be applied to DRX not playing as well in playoffs. I think DRX will be a strong team, and this was because of Hyunmin. This rookie had to fill the shoes of Buzz and has been doing an insane job.
Up onto the belt, spotting one, dropping, hitting the floor, and puts both players down. Buy more time. The swing out, Hyunmin finding the first, and the shots are crisp.
Alright, let's move over to EMEA, where a lot of question marks have risen in this region due to the underperformance of many teams other than Fnatic. Joining us are Fnatic, Team Heretics, Carmine Corp, and BBL. Let's start with Fnatic, who placed second at Toronto. Everyone knew this team was strong, but after a close loss to Genji, things weren't looking too great. As EMEA's last hope in Toronto, Fnatic went on a lower bracket run, making it all the way to the finals, proving that they're still an incredible team. I think Fnatic will continue their success in this meta because it suits their playstyle really well, and their players are insane and hitting peak forms even after we had all thought they'd already peaked. And if you looked at Toronto, you'll understand why Alphair is taking over right now. He was arguably the MVP, even though he wasn't on the winning team.
Lovely to see, but Jeffkin tries to close in. Oh, it was laboured, but he's got the job done. Caught on the cross though, Alpha. Oh, right out of the sky! That is the man we were just talking about. The beast himself, the Wonder Kid, is back.
Next is Team Heretics, who are the most disappointing team in Toronto. With high expectations and discussions about whether they'll be able to win a grand finals, people overlooked getting there. Heretics went out 0-2 in the group stage, losing to PaperX and Wolves. While these teams did do very well in the tournament, people were expecting a lot more from Team Heretics. But there is still a light at the end of the tunnel. It can't get any worse than this. There should be a lot less expectations and a lot less pressure. And I think Heretics do need to figure out their roles a little bit, because I think we'll be shifting towards a Viper double controller meta, and they had Rienz playing on Viper, so that way Benji could still play on Sentinel. I don't know if having your star initiator player not playing scan initiator, which they're known for, might be an issue, especially since scan initiators are super strong right now. Now, last time I chose the best player from Heretics, I started a riot in my comments, but fuck it, I'm gonna double down, and I do think Benji will be the best player on Heretics at Riyadh.
Having one away from that Viper's pit, but there's Benji again.
He's
Wait,
hitting.
push up.
He is hitting. Spatman trying to trade this, he does, but Benji gets out of the way. Oh, this is stunning stuff.
Benji Fishy, that's 3? Caught by the paranoia, forced to give him some ground, but now.
Next is BBL. Now let's be real, BBL were super close to knocking out Liquid in EMEA playoffs and could have qualified for Toronto, but due to some very unfortunate and scrappy rounds, Liquid were able to battle their way and steal a map, keeping them in the game. So I'm very happy that this team finally made it to an international event this year, because their team is looking super underrated in my opinion. Now I don't know how well they're going to do, but I think that this team can lean into double duelists really well, and they might be able to pull off some upsets and get really close games. I think this is due to Profek, who is consistently keeping them in rounds, and a key reason why this team is so good.
The A side is wide open at the moment. The adjustment from BBL will be to push mid, but that's right into the waiting arms of Foot. But Profek, well, he is course correcting, decimated in some of those earlier duels, but now he's dishing out the damage, and it's at a captain on the floor.
Lastly from EMEA is Carmine Corp. Last time we saw this team at an international event, they were heavy underdogs, but over the offseason they made some pretty heavy changes. Even during stage 1, all of the games were super competitive, and they were really close to beating Na'Vi in the first round of the playoffs, where they lost 1-2 in a super close series. I'm happy that they're going to this event, because I think it's going to be really good to have Sadok back in an international event, and while the meta's still up in the air, you know they're going to see a Phoenix and a Harbor from this team. And shooting from this team is Martin, who's been a really big reason why Carmine Corp are still strong from last year and are continuing their dominance.
He's gone out of here though. Martin's still trying to link
Another
around.
one.
Yeah.
Wants another one.
Trying to get him
He's got it.
to a 2v2. What he wants, he gets. They're trying to find a fight. Look at this plant position here. Sadak trying to get a bit. They look towards Garage, but it's not the place. It's CT. Martin steps forward, looks for a fight. He's got it. Martin is vicious today.
Next, we have some familiar faces from China that are going to be joining us at the Esports World Cup. XLG, Billy, EDG, and a new team, Titan Esports. Let's start with XLG, who, like RRQ, had a rough first international showing, going 0-2 in the playoffs, losing poorly to Sentinels and G2. This team was still integrating a new player into their lineup who they couldn't really communicate with because of language barriers, but they've replaced him with No Man, who's a new part of their team. XLG are looking to redeem themselves in this tournament and show that they are a world contending class team, and Varga looks to continue to lead this team.
Jordan, we're looking for a lucky connection in all. Raka, he's forward again, and this guy is it double the ball. Raka!
Next is Billy, who honestly didn't look too bad at Toronto. They had an exciting match against Liquid, who were playing without Nats, but lost to Sentinels in a competitive match and eventually fell to Wolves Esports, who were beginning to peak. I think Billy should be able to do better off this time, especially because of how well Wolves did. It might bring that extra bit of confidence after seeing the run that they made. I think that Billy learned a lot from this tournament and are going to be able to come into EWC stronger than people think. And I think YZ will continue to lead the charge for Billy.
Europe, wow, look at this pivot from Billy to have to go through the thorns. Bay wants to swing off of it. Trades coming through, but now the site is taken. Spike Nade going to do some damage tonight, and it actually nets the kill.
Decker now with the showstopper, stopped in his tracks. YZ with an op shot now. He's in the thick of things. In the heart of the Maelstrom, YZ wants to push Alpha with this op. Oh, are you kidding me?
Next is the 2024 Champs winners, EDG. EDG missed out on their first Masters event after having some team issues with Simon and eventually dropping him, and brought in Jenny to fill his role. I'm glad to see this team back fighting for international titles because even though the Wolves run was incredible, tournaments just don't feel the same without EDG star Kong making incredible plays and firing up the crowd.
这 B 大的协同会来，而康康就在2楼，康手感已经完全火热了，不管不顾3杀。 2楼已经牢牢卡死，莫甘就过来，全部被他照单全收。今天的康康已经起立。
Lastly from China is Titan Esports, and I'll be honest, I had never heard of this team before, but after doing some research, they look legit. Haodong is on this team, who used to be on EDG before they brought in Simon, and they run the deadlock a lot, which I think is super strong right now and heavily underrated. And based off their qualifier games, it looks like Abo is their best player.
卢克马上也被摘头了。
纪年
近角，弗勒辛拉着让队友来补，两个人都没补上，阿博让悬念瞬间又消失了一大半。
但是纪年的压力还是很多。
有闪有假人，闪得很严实，但是阿博又是随手一颗轻描淡写。
2楼队友到了，能补枪。
Lastly is the Americas, who were the first region eliminated from Toronto. But I'm happy to say we are sending 4 North American teams to Riyadh, G2, Sentinels, NRG, and 100 Thieves. Let's start with G2, who I think fell short of expectations, which honestly kind of sucks for G2. Imagine being a team where the only expectation your team has is to win international events, and anything else isn't good enough. G2 struggled at Toronto and came into this meta with nothing super new and creative. They lost to PaperX in a close match, followed by a dominant win over XLG and an incredible comeback over Gen G, but then eventually fell to Fnatic. I hope this team's able to figure out a comp and a style that fits for them like Chamber Vibes because the players on this team are super talented and I want to see them lift a well-deserved trophy. And I do think that they're going to lean into this Chamber a little bit more, and with this, I think Leaf is going to perform really well at this event.
Back to the right a little bit too soon. Showstopper, does he check for it? Nope. And that is going to be Leaf absolutely tearing them asunder. Damage down on the Patman as well, is able to get away from the snake bite. Oh, the push from Leaf coming through, and Leaf just so on top of things. Further whittled away at, and Leaf.
Next is Sentinels, who made it out of groups this time and honestly had a fairly good showing at Toronto. They did only win against Chinese teams, beating Wolves 2-0, Billy 2-0, and XLG 2-0, before eventually losing to PaperX and Fnatic. I think this team can be really good if everyone's shooting, but if people are having slow or struggling, that's when Sentinels start to show their cracks in their game. I think John Cootie had a really rough tournament, and him and Zelsis need to step it up if Sentinels want to be competitive against the top dogs. However, leading the charge was Zekken again, who's been continuing to prove why he's the star on this team.
This would require a monumental comeback, but Zekken is too good right now.
In a market that would least XLG have been able to set up a staging ground, this will leave Zelsis looking a little bit stranded, but do they check this corner? Absolutely not! A freebie for Zelsis here as Raga deals with it, but it's electrifying play!
Next is 100 Thieves, who I'm really excited are back on the international stage and are looking really good right now. Things are clicking for them, and I think this meta is going to suit them pretty well. I think this team is starting to peak right now, and all of their players are shooting really good. With Busio getting out of his slump and putting up numbers again, this seems pretty scary. They pulled off an insane reverse sweep against MIBR in a best of 5 in order to qualify for EWC. There's not much expectations for this team, so I think they can perform really well, might be able to pull off some really good upsets, and even qualify for playoffs. I think Cryo is easily the best player on this team, and he can be a little inconsistent at times, but when he's shooting, 100 Thieves look unstoppable.
I'm going to be looking to slow down here. It's a lot of Utah going to be used preemptively here. Under 100 with the flash. PXS need to be careful. 2G lying in wait here. Trying to make another go, I think. Snakebite up and over towards the top. The salvo is just about too late here. With Outlaw in hand, this is Cryo making the most of it. He knows he's up against the weaker buy. And now he's going to try and seal this one all the way up.
Lastly is NRG, who have finally made it to an international event this year. The qualifier games were the first time we saw this team without FNS, and Scuba looked cracked out of his mind. He's winning rounds and finding insane frags to them. Everybody on this team can shoot, and the vibes are extremely high right now. Bonkar is back to coaching, and everything seems set for them to go on a run here. Som and Scuba are switching off on the sentient smokes, giving them a lot of versatility, so I expect cool and creative comps coming from this team that are really going to push their agent options. Now, choosing a best player for this team was actually a lot harder than I expected. But looking at the stats, I honestly think Mata is really good. He plays so many of the duelists, and he plays them at a really high level.
Step back, and again, all eyes on Mata. Gets his 2 and then dismisses away. He is the thorn in their side. Off of the Lear, he tries to swing back yellow. That's 3, make it 4.